My F32 husband's M32 new female friend sent a text that gave me the ick, and I'm questioning her intentions. Am I being silly? So let me start off by saying I usually feel pretty confident about myself and never really had any problems with it. But then something happened that got me all worked up after reading a message my husband got yesterday, and now I can't seem to shake it off. Sorry if this gets a bit lengthy. Here's the backstory. My husband is really into downhill biking. He's been doing it since he was a kid, knows the ins and outs of it all, and he's out there practically every day. He usually rides with the same bunch of guys, mostly on weekends, but since his job gives him some flexibility, he's able to go biking every day of the week. And if he's out riding solo, which is usually on weekdays, he takes our dogs along if they're free because they absolutely love it. About 6 months ago, he went out in the morning with the dogs as usual, but came back home earlier than expected. Turns out he came across a girl who had taken a tumble and hurt her arm pretty badly. Now, this wasn't anything new for him. He's helped out in similar situations before and knows exactly what to do. He got her to safety, packed up the dogs and bikes, and drove her to the doctor, who then sent her to the hospital. Everything turned out fine. Then, about a week later, one of his biking buddies sent him a screenshot of a post on a Facebook group meant for folks who build and maintain bike trails. The post was from the girl he had helped, looking for him. It went something like this. I'm trying to find someone named insert husband's name here who came to my rescue last week when I had my accident. He was driving a husband's truck and had 3 dogs with him, then listed our dogs' names. So before she found the right group, she posted in a few different places. But then she got linked up with the group my husband rides with for trail building. Now, my husband isn't into social media, so he offered to give her his number instead. She texted him to make sure she had the right guy. He confirmed it and expressed how glad he was that she was feeling better, saying he was happy to lend a hand. She offered him money or to take him out for lunch, but he politely declined, insisting he was just happy to help. They exchanged texts every now and then, mostly initiated by her, just checking in on each other, until she started recovering and getting back into riding shape. Then the tone shifted to suggesting they hit the trails together. Now, without blowing his own trumpet, my husband is really good at biking. He used to compete when he was younger, just like most of the guys he rides with. People at the park usually know them, and if they hear them coming, they tend to step aside and watch them go past. He tried to politely turn down her offer in a way that wouldn't hurt her feelings, but it's pretty clear she wouldn't be able to keep up with their pace. There's this one section with big jumps for practicing. He mentioned that maybe next time he's there, he'll give her a shout and they can meet up there. As time went on, he ended up giving her some biking tips. And before we knew it, she was texting him more often, asking for biking advice and just chatting about stuff in general. This carried on for a couple of months, and it seemed like a friendship was blossoming. I never had any worries about it and was totally fine with him continuing to help her out, which he did. Then, yesterday Monday, he went out with the dogs and happened to run into her. They had a chat for a bit and went for a cycle together with the dogs before he came home. When he got back, she started texting him, and I could see these messages popping up on the iPad since I was using it. Now, just to be clear, he's not trying to hide anything. He leaves his phone lying around without a passcode, lets our daughter play on it, and he's perfectly fine with me using it. He doesn't act all strange or secretive about it at all. He knows that the iPad and laptop are linked to his phone, so everything can be seen by anyone using them. And honestly, he's never given me any reason to doubt him. But I can't help but wonder about her intentions at this point. Now about the dogs. We have 3 working gun dogs that are regularly out in the fields. Even though they might seem like they're going wild on those trails, they're actually incredibly well trained and tuned in to whatever my husband is doing. You can really see it when he's not on the trails, and they're just following him around, watching his every move. These texts started off talking about the dogs for a bit, but then she sent a message that ended with, like a slave looking to please their master. Honestly, I'm not really into emojis and all that texting stuff people use these days. I don't even know what that face means, to be honest. But something about it just made me feel uneasy, like there's an underlying tone going on here. He replied to her, but it seemed like he ignored that last comment. Still, it got me thinking and looking back at her messages, and I feel like I've noticed a few red flags. She always initiates the conversations. If he doesn't reply right away, she keeps sending messages until he does. Not once has she ever mentioned or acknowledged the fact that he's married or has a family. Even when he mentioned things like being away for my birthday or our daughter's dance show, she just changes the subject, as if she's pretending we don't exist or trying to shut down any mention of us. She often finds excuses for them to meet up, just the two of them. I'm sure there are more things I could pick up on if I went through every message, but I don't want to dive too deep into it and make it seem like a bigger deal than it might be. But am I crazy for thinking there might be something going on with her? I don't want to bring it up and seem paranoid if it turns out to be nothing. It just doesn't sit right with me. Plus, I'm also pregnant, and you know how those hormones can mess with your head. Should I bring it up with him? Or should I just keep an eye on things for a while? Maybe it's just me being a 30-something pregnant mom, seeing my husband getting better with age like a fine wine, and any woman he meets while doing what he loves, being in great shape because of the hobby. Update. My last post got way more responses than I expected. I wasn't planning on giving an update, but I feel like I owe it to all the people who told me to trust my gut. For those wondering why my husband didn't shut her down sooner, well, he's the type to try to keep the peace. I didn't fully explain how well known he is in our town. He comes from a prominent family and used to ride downhill professionally in the UCI, and he's featured in various YouTube channels. Our town is a small place where everyone knows everyone, and wherever he goes, there's usually someone recognizing him and wanting to chat. He never wants anyone to leave an interaction with him feeling bad. After our daughter went to bed, I talked to my husband about my concerns, and he agreed that she was being inappropriate. He made it clear that he hadn't given her any indication that he was okay with her behavior. He hoped that by ignoring her, she'd get the hint and back off. He didn't want to make things awkward or embarrass anyone, although he admitted he probably should have said something earlier. After reading everyone's comments, there were some great suggestions for shutting her down. In hindsight, they would have been effective. But he didn't want to cause any drama, so we decided to go with the excuse that we're getting ready for the baby and have a lot to do, meaning he won't have time for biking or meetups for the foreseeable future. He drafted the message, got my approval, and I hit send. Minutes later, his phone pings. I'm in the kitchen, he's in the living room, and I see his eyebrows shoot up as he hands me the phone. The audacity of this girl absolutely astounds me. She replied, "Okay, do you think we could meet up quickly tomorrow?" My heart sank. I knew exactly what that meant. Tears welled up, and I felt like my world was falling apart. My husband tried to calm me down and asked what I wanted him to do, block her right then and there, or ask what she wanted to meet for. Part of me wished I'd just told him to block her, but for some reason I wanted to know more. He responded, asking what meeting up would achieve. She replied that there were things she wanted to talk about face to face. It felt like a punch to the chest. My husband persisted, trying to get her to be clear about what she wanted. Then she spilled it all out. She admitted that feelings had developed, turning into fantasies, and that basically he could do whatever he wanted with her. She made it clear that I didn't need to know, calling it our thing. The details were too graphic for me to repeat. At that moment, any sense of composure I had vanished. I exploded with anger, tears streaming uncontrollably. My body was trembling with rage. I've barely slept, waking up in tears and feeling terrible all day today. I've already reached out to our friends who manage those Facebook groups she joined and asked them to remove her and ensure she can't join again. My husband replied last night, telling me it's taken care of and I don't need to worry about her. I saw the text notification on the iPad, but I can't bring myself to open the message app after what I saw. It's just not fair that someone thinks they can do something like that without considering how it will affect an entire family. Right now, I don't want him to leave the house. I don't want him to go back to the trails, and I don't even want the dogs going up there. The thought of her even touching my dogs makes me sick. So here we are. I still feel like my life is slipping away from me, like someone's trying to steal it. My confidence is shattered, my eyes sting, my head hurts from crying. I don't feel like eating, and I don't think I've ever felt as low as I do right now. My husband is trying his best to comfort me, but it's going to take some time, I guess. He feels really guilty, even though I've told him he's done nothing wrong. I can't believe how quickly my life changed with just a stupid text. So thank you to everyone who told me to trust my gut and to everyone else who took the time to comment. Edit. I just want to clarify, I'm not trying to control my husband. I'm not keeping him from doing what he needs to do. Today, he had to take the dogs out. The bike park is practically in our backyard. I'm just describing how I'm feeling at the moment. It feels like a personal attack on me and my family, and I know this kind of thing happens everywhere, but I never really saw it until now. I'm about to give birth to this man's child, and right now, I don't feel attractive in any way. I think it's understandable that I'm feeling pretty upset after seeing a text from a much younger, much fitter girl describing in vivid detail the things she wants my husband to do to her.